We're all about the Archers. I'm Philippa.
And I'm Lauren.
Now, this episode has spoilers up to and including Tuesday night's episode of The Archers. That's the 3rd of October. This week we cover, what do we cover, Lauren?
We've got Jazza, the latest victim of the Lark Rise to Candleford pandemic of reading addict. We've got redemption. We've got Rob being back. Oh. What else? What else?
We've got, Alan trying to deal with Rob, poor Alan. We've got all this nonsense that we'll talk about, the stories, Eddie's scary stories. We just need to get started. There's a lot to cover.
There's a lot to get through.
But before we do anything else, Lauren, welcome to talking about the Archers. Now, we need to just talk about your pedigree, because you and I have been chums for a few years now. But when did you start listening to the Archers?
I think it was about 7 years ago. Now, I remember listening to it on the way back from Liverpool, actually. Me and David were like, stick it on the car, let's give it a go. And the Rob and Helen storyline had just come to an end, or a close, let's say, ready to be reopened. We're about to get into that. And I think they were trying to sort of like fill the episodes with a bit of fluff, a bit of gentle fluff for people. And I literally endured about 3 months of, with the women cricket team be given changing rooms. And I was just like, God, they're really into cricket on the Archers. And then it's literally never been mentioned again. So yeah, that's what I was. That's what I tuned in for, and I must have loved it because I stuck around for 3 months of that.
Yeah, you put up with it, and here we are. Rob's back.
Yeah,
it's happening. So let's start with the first thing. What do you think of the week so far?
Well, I'm not happy about Rob being back. I mean, I knew we hadn't seen the last of him, Philippa. I knew it, but I feel like he came back and he was sort of playing what's worse top trumps. Like Alan was sort of like, why are you here? Haven't you got and alluded to there being a restraining order against him? And he simply answered, I've got a brain tumour. As if like that was all the explanation he needed. That's why he's not if he has it.
All. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not happy with him being back. I feel like Alan's been doing a very sort of unconvincing impression of someone who's just ticking by quite comfortably, when really what's bubbling under the surface is that he's considering baptising Rob Titchener, and this all sort of culminates in the last scene where he's just swigging beer from a can and not even using a glass, as Usha loses her mind and says, let's put it in a glass, Alan. And redemption features quite heavily, doesn't it?
I mean, why hasn't Alan contacted the safeguarding team in the diocese? I just don't understand. It's like he's a one-man band trying to save the world.
He's literally just relying on gossip. He was saying to Usha, and have you heard from Helen? Do you know what's going on there? And I was like, this should be being looked into, Alan.
And lying to his wife about why he was asking. That's not our Alan. That's not what we expect from him.
Not cool.
It's okay.
Not
so
cool,
looking at the week as a whole, what were your faves? What were your flops of the week so far?
Well, I've got a sort of a little tiny fave that just happens at the top of Sunday's episode. And it's just Emma mentioning the fact that Mia's looking at universities because she wants to study environmental science. And I just think, like, she's just my ultimate babe. I just love her so much. So I loved that. But also I loved Jazza, Tracy and Brad just being this lovely sort of supportive, proud, wholesome and pure family unit. I just love the way that Jazza's just slotted into that family just amazingly, and he's just so, like, he's just really good mates, isn't he? I love hearing his interactions with Chelsea. I love hearing his interactions with Brad, and I love the romance and chemistry between him and Tracy. I love that whole thing. So I'm gagging for more of that. I would say I'd love to live with them, but it's a bit rampacked around there, isn't it?
Yeah, and Tracy wouldn't like it.
I don't think I would, really.
She didn't want Hannah coming round and sleeping on the sofa, so she wouldn't be happy if you were there, Lauren.
I don't mind Hannah, but I wouldn't want her on my sofa either.
Oh, I love Hannah.
They might want me on the sofa. And my flops, I'm feeling a bit disheartened about this whole ghost story premise. Like, I feel like, haven't we had this storyline already? Like, hasn't this been done to death already? Do you remember something like this before?
Yes, in Love and Loxley, wasn't Jim being roped in to do the readings, and they did all of that. I think we've had enough of this. And the fact that Emma said, Eddie swears blind that this is true. You just think, well, no, it's not.
Would you really be entertaining it that? Like, Emma knows Eddie. Like, you're just thinking, this isn't content. This isn't what I'm here for, to listen to
And
this
this giant
rubbish.
hand they mentioned tonight. It's like, these are cultural. Yeah, that was slightly crazy.
And another flop of mine has been Rob being back. I mean, obviously, no one wants to see him back. I knew, like we said, we knew he was back at some point. But yeah, when Alan goes around to talk to him at his house, I think I got a real insight to what he's like because, like I said, I started listening after the Rob and Helen storyline had sort of drawn to a close. And then I've only heard about him sort of secondhand. So hearing him being so selective with the truth to Alan about how Helen's been really supportive and all of this. And I just thought, yeah, really sort of manipulative and not very nice. But I got to say, like, although, like I said, big flop in being back, I also feel like maybe Alan might be onto something about whether or not this is actually real. He actually says, like, to Rob, "Is this real?" And I feel the same. Is it real?
Up until this week, I had thought it was, but it's this sudden deterioration. You know, one minute Rob's driving round outside the swimming pool looking for Jack and Henry and meeting Henry in the
Yeah.
fair, and now he's got a stick and he's falling down and being sick all the time. I mean, I could be wrong, but that seems
Yeah.
a rapid deterioration. And then when he said to Alan, "Oh, I haven't got any hospital letters here, but I can get them," I thought, "You've moved
Yeah.
here, you'd need them."
Oh, I was trying to recall in my mind about what the sort of timeline with what had happened with Rob's seizures. And then I was remembering that Helen, yes, did go to the hospital with him. So I remember thinking then it's all above board. But then I couldn't remember whether Helen had got a phone call from somebody that was
She
saying, oh,
did.
they're a doctor and they're very concerned and the seriousness. But I mean, that could be, you could pay an actor to do that, couldn't you? Um,
Yes, it seemed
and I
so
just,
strange at the time, this consultant calling her and Helen not wanting to speak about
and
it, and the consultant
yeah,
persisting.
and him saying, oh, I need to tell someone, I need to tell, like, you don't like it. She's his ex wife. Like, so much
Mm.
stuff could have happened, and for her to just treat her as the next of kin and just pass on all this sort of medical information, something ain't quite right there. So that's another
Mm.
flop of mine. What about yours? Faves and flops?
Okay, faves. I loved the coughing in the church. Every time there is a church service, you hear someone or a number of people coughing, and it's like the BBC have a CD of coughing, and they have to sort of blow the cobwebs and the dust off it. Say, "Oh, we can use it now." I love that. As if we're sitting there thinking, "Are they in the church? Aren't they in the church? Oh, there's coughing. Yes, they're in the church." Uh,
I could be that cougher at the moment. I've got a real bad little cough. So if they're looking for someone to be a solitary cougher,
You're
sign
there.
me up. I'm there. I'm there, ready to go. Cough prepared.
I also loved Usha trying to find Alan. She was looking round the church. She was shouting his name. It's not that big a church. It's not that big a churchyard graveyard. Was Alan sort of crouched behind a gravestone with Rob whispering so she couldn't find him? I wanted her to find him and say, "Oh,
Yeah.
you know, do one." But of course, that wouldn't have been the story. But that just made me laugh. The
No,
idea of
just,
Alan crouching and hiding.
yeah.
I'll count to 3. Yeah, so
Yes.
I quite like that. Um, and Ardil stressed. I like that because I'm intrigued. There's obviously a story brewing. I think he's
Yeah.
worried about the budget. He's overspent. He hasn't got any publicity team, so Linda won't get a phone number for anything unless it's Ardil with a different voice. I mean, has he spent the whole budget staying at Linda's? He's been there for I don't know, about 16 months, 18 months now.
Abs-
That must be a huge amount of money he's spent there.
I hadn't considered the issues that Ardil was having to be financial. Like that hadn't crossed my mind. I know Quentin mentioned a couple of weeks ago about maybe this doctor um, could be Ardil's sister, and I felt like maybe it was leaning towards family trouble. And when he's on the phone, he's very sort of panicked and also speaking in the language that he would speak to his family in. Like, so I just always assumed it was sort of like family related and more sort of like annoying family related. It didn't feel serious to me. He just feels like he feels annoyed.
Yes, I don't know what's going on there. He can't just be stressed because his sister is a doctor and has moved into the area, maybe hasn't been in touch with her for a
That
while.
doesn't link up.
No, he's not sleeping. There's something going on. Have the family invested money into Grey Gables? Is that the pressure?
Could
I
be.
don't know. It's strange, but yeah,
Linda said he's run ragged.
yes, working all hours.
And
And
she's cancelling her holiday.
but Oliver's keeping all the emails about the changing window designs. Again, there's something going on there. My flops, yeah, Eddie's scary stories. I'm over that.
Yeah.
No, thank you. Rob's laugh. He has this very strange laugh when he says something that is untrue or manipulative. He builds this sort of laugh in, and I don't like it.
You know what that laugh is, don't you?
What?
It's a hollow laugh.
It is. It's a laugh without
it?
laughter, if there is such a thing.
It's
Yeah,
horrible.
and it's the stick noise. It's almost like a horror film that we're gonna hear Jack going, "Mummy, Mummy, where are you?" And then we're just gonna hear this stick noise moving along. Run away, Jack! Run away, Henry. I don't know. But was it what you were expecting this week?
Well, I knew Rob was coming back at some point. Like, I knew that wasn't the last we'd heard of him, but I wasn't expecting him to come back and wanting to be baptised. I mean, who was expecting that? Were you? He's never struck me as a man of God. So, yeah, the little I know about him doesn't seem a very godly man. I didn't expect Ardil to be so flustered. Like we said, Linda said he'd run ragged. He's been doing 16-hour days. Like, I don't feel like we've seen that side of him. He's always seemed very in control. And like, I was a bit surprised at how stressed he was. And also, I thought in stark comparison to him being that stressed, Oliver, absolutely cool as a cucumber. Unflappable.
When he was driving Emma tonight, you could hear the sounds of the car, the gear change and everything. He just kept talking. I mean, when I drive and I'm doing something, I might pause a moment. Oh no, totally relaxed. Maybe he's got a chauffeur.
No. He seems the type. He seems the type.
Yeah, I don't know. This Rob and quoting a psalm, Alan saying, well, what is your favourite part of the Bible if you've been reading it? And Rob just came out with an obvious one. I'm blaming the fact on Helen not wanting to be in contact with him as much on Pat and Tony. I was like, no, I'm not having that.
No, not cool.
I don't know. But we need to talk food before we go any further. We've got food. Now, I've heard some mention.
I love that you love the food as much as I love the food. I love it. And I've made a little list as well. So any you don't get, I've caught them. Between us, we've got it covered.
Thank you. Okay, well, help me out. So I've got, Ardil had a croissant today. He'd had it for breakfast with his coffee. On Sunday night, we'd heard about Cecil bringing tins of fruit and bags of rice to the Harvest Festival. Emma had bought round an apple cake. Love an apple cake. So that sounded very nice.
Me too.
Delish. Alan had chocolate sprinkles on his cappuccino. Yep. And Rob, this is the mark of the man. No biscuits. He had no biscuits in his house. Alan should have just said,
that's how you know he's a wrong un.
Yes, exactly. And I think if Rob did have a biscuit, what biscuit would Baddie Rob have? I think, I'm going to offend some people, I think Garibaldi or a plain hobnob.
I actually really like a Garibaldi.
No, dead flies in it, Lauren. Oh, no.
And my dad even calls them dead fly biscuits. Yeah, I really like them.
What would you think?
I think he'd be
have?
Like a broken up rich tea. Do you think?
Yeah, just bits and bobs, just not even a whole biscuit.
Yeah. And they're all soft.
Oh, yeah.
He's not maintaining that business. He's not maintaining that biscuit jar, is he?
His biscuit tin philosophy is deeply flawed. Yeah.
Flawed. There is one more item of food you've missed off.
What have I missed?
There was a Murti Matapant Malai, a curry at the end of tonight's episode.
Yeah. Oh, it made me hungry.
Alan comes in, sniffs the air and says, I know exactly what that is. It's fish curry.
He's getting to the point where he's believing what Rob said. He's lying to his wife, but he can sniff the type of curry his wife's cooking. He's on it.
as he walks up the pathway, he knows exactly what curry's being cooked. But it did make me think, oh, I could have a curry. But I think
Yeah.
that's it. I think between the two of us, we've covered the food there. If we've missed any, let us know.
Let us know. We hope we haven't. But now we come to a very important part, predictions. Hit me with them,
Yeah.
Lauren. What are your predictions?
Well, I've absolutely no idea where this Rob plot's going. Like, I've absolutely like that man. I just don't. I couldn't predict it. I can't predict it. What I'm saying there, I don't know. The Halloween. I suspect that this sort of like ghost story situation is going to be. We've got it until Halloween. I think is what's going to happen. There was mention tonight of strange creatures, witches, supernatural, afterlife, shapeshifter, the big massive hand that you mentioned earlier. Like, I feel like this is all leading up to some sort of like spooktacular Halloween situation, I think. And yeah, predict that maybe Ardil's issues are to do with his sister or his family, but I don't know what. So what I'm saying is I've got nothing really. But you got one right last week. Can you continue the streak?
Definitely not. Well, are they now going to do Macbeth as a dramatisation? That's a worry of mine. I hope not.
God, when they started talking about the books, I was like, "Oh yeah. Tell me what books you're." When Oliver
Yeah.
asked Emma, and then she said Macbeth, my body went, oh, like just not interested in Macbeth. So I really hope not.
I'm going to see Macbeth in a couple of weeks, actually. So I will report back.
Enjoy it.
Thank you. Okay, my predictions. The preparations to reopen Grey Gables are going to be a disaster. That the Ghost Stories venture for Eddie is going to be a disaster, and that Alan overthinking Rob's situation is going to be a disaster. And also,
Disaster.
I think Cecil is going to find out that Alan said he wouldn't baptise Rob. There'll be a complaint to the bishop or something, and he's going to demand his tins of fruit be returned.
What a price to pay, eh? What a price to pay. I mean, that could all happen. That could all happen.
It could, and it could not. I think quite possibly not, but that's it from us. It's been quite a 3 episodes already. I dread to think what's going to happen in the next 3, but
I
it's
know.
great to have a chat about it. Now, we'll be back. Well, we've got a bookish bonus on Saturday where we talk all about the book that cannot be named. And
I'm
next
so
week,
looking forward to it.
yeah, we have things to say about that book. Anyway, should be fun. And next week we'll be back. There'll be all 4 of us next week talking about the 3
Party.
episodes. Yes, party of all about the Archers. And then the week after that, it will just be Quentin, myself, and we'll restart and on we go forevermore. But that's it. And you can find us on YouTube,
Hello to the people on
Instagram.
YouTube.
Yes, we're waving at the screen like mad people. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, you name it, we're there. And that's it. It's bye-bye from me.
And a goodbye from me.
Bye-bye, everyone. See you soon.